In the shadow of a quiet mountain range, where clouds hung low like whispering ghosts, there lived a man who spoke more to candles than to people. His name was Edrin. By day, he walked unnoticed through the village of Calmere, a place of cobbled paths and wooden shutters, of ringing bells and bread ovens. He was thin, gray-bearded, and hunched from years at the fire. The children said he smelled of melted wax and smoke. The elders said he'd always been there, though no one remembered him being young. But at night, when the last fire in the inn had died down and the cats curled beneath carts to sleep, Edrin's little cottage on the hill would flicker awake. Each evening, just before midnight, a glow bloomed in his window. It wasn't the warm, yellow light of a hearth. It was softer. Paler. Like moonlight made of fire. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of tallow and herbs, bay leaf, lavender, and sometimes, something stranger. There were shelves lined with carefully shaped candles. Fat ones for winter, tall ones for temples, spiraled ones for weddings. But tucked in a corner, behind a faded curtain, stood a smaller table. On it lay his secret work. No one in the village knew that Edrin crafted one candle each night, only one, and dipped it not 7 times as custom dictated, but 14. In perfect silence. He always used the same tools, a bone-handled knife, a brass ladle, and a small iron pot that never cooled. Each item was old and worn, as though passed down from forgotten generations. And in the very center of each candle, hidden deep inside, he carved a symbol. Always the same. A rune. This rune was not known in the village. It didn't match the signs above the apothecary or the markings on the chapel door. It was older. A curling loop of flame, drawn with such care it could have been the signature of fire itself. When the candle hardened, the rune vanished from view, entombed beneath layers of wax. But the villagers who bought Edrin's candles often said strange things. That the candles burned longer than any others. That they never sputtered, even in wind. That in the last moments, when only a stub remained, the flames seemed to flicker in patterns. Some swore they saw shapes in the shadow, birds flying, trees swaying, eyes blinking slowly as if watching. Edrin never answered questions. He simply sold his candles with a nod and retreated. Only once had someone tried to uncover his secret. A traveler from the south, curious, wealthy, and unkind, had climbed to Edrin's cottage one night, peering through the window, thinking to catch a glimpse. He saw a candle, still dripping from its final dip, being placed into a wooden box lined with black silk. And then, just before Edrin turned away, the traveler swore the candle glowed blue, briefly, like lightning in a fog. He returned to the inn, pale and shaken, muttering that the old man speaks to wax. No one believed him. But still, from that night on, the people of Calmere treated Edrin's candles differently. They placed them in doorways during storms. They lit them in the rooms of the dying. One woman burned hers at her child's birth, saying the flame sang without sound. Edrin never changed. He continued his midnight work, always beginning with a silent breath and a prayer that no one heard. A prayer not for safety or fame, but for memory. He made each candle for someone. Not someone in the village. Not even someone still alive. He made them for people he had once known. Long ago. A girl who gave him a blue scarf in spring. A friend who carved spoons in a forest hut. A brother who whistled while chopping wood. Each rune, though the same in shape, was made with a different thought. A different memory. That's what gave them their light. And when he lit one, only once, every 10 years, he sat in silence and watched the flame tell stories that no one else could see. Stories of what was lost. Stories only the wax remembered. Outside, the wind would blow across the hills. The snow would fall, soft and quiet. But in Edrin's cottage, a flame danced in memory, casting shadows that curled like pages in a forgotten book. The villagers never asked why his hands were always warm, even in deep winter. They never questioned why his candles never smoked. They didn't want answers. They only wanted light. And Edrin, though silent, always gave it. But one winter evening, just as the moon reached its peak, something unusual happened. Edrin opened his candle box, and found one missing. He stood very still, breath held, eyes wide. Then slowly, he turned toward the window, where a faint set of footprints led away from the door, into the dark. The footprints in the snow led straight from Edrin's door, vanishing into the moonlit night. A feeling stirred in him, a strange mix of unease and curiosity. He stood still for a moment, the candlebox open in his hands, his weathered fingers trembling ever so slightly. Someone had taken it. It was impossible. Edrin was certain he had locked the door. The only key to the cottage, he knew, was tucked beneath a loose stone by the hearth, a small comfort, for he never expected to need it. Yet tonight, someone had found their way inside and left with one of his carefully crafted candles. The missing one was not ordinary, though. It had been marked with the deepest rune he'd ever carved. That candle was not meant for anyone in the village. It had been for someone far away. Someone from his past. Edrin paced across the room, his thoughts heavy. Who would dare take something so personal? Why? He gathered his things quickly, locking the door behind him, and stepped into the chill air. The night was still, except for the distant rustle of tree branches. The snow, fresh and untouched, crunched softly beneath his boots. He followed the trail of footprints, which wove through the village and up the winding road toward the forest. The moon hung like a silent witness in the sky, illuminating the white world with a soft, silvery glow. Edrin's breath clouded in the cold air as he moved steadily, his mind racing. The tracks led him deeper into the woods than he had ever ventured at this hour. A slight fog rolled across the ground, thickening with each step he took, as though the night itself were trying to swallow him whole. As Edrin approached the clearing near the old oak tree, he saw it, an outline in the fog. A figure, standing by the tree, holding something in their hands. The missing candle. The figure turned. It was a young man, no older than 30, with dark hair and a cloak that fluttered slightly in the breeze. He looked at Edrin with an odd mix of recognition and hesitation, as though he knew Edrin would follow him, yet wasn't sure how to react. "I knew you would come," the man said quietly, his voice steady but carrying the weight of an old memory. Edrin's heart skipped a beat. He had heard that voice before, long ago. It was unmistakable. "Liam?" Edrin whispered, his breath hitching in his throat. The young man nodded, his eyes clouded with something both sorrowful and serene. "You've come for it," Liam continued. "I didn't mean to take it. I only needed to see it once more." Edrin's mind reeled. This wasn't possible. Liam had vanished years ago. He had been lost to the mountains in a storm. No one had ever found his body. It was believed that Liam was gone forever. Edrin stared at him, unable to speak at first. The air seemed to thicken around them, as though the forest itself were holding its breath. "I thought you were lost to the storm," Edrin finally managed, his voice thick with emotion. "I was," Liam said quietly. "But some things, they don't stay lost. Not for long." Edrin stepped closer, his eyes never leaving the candle in Liam's hands. It glowed softly in the dark, the rune pulsing faintly with the rhythm of an ancient heartbeat. "Why did you take it?" Edrin asked, his voice barely a whisper. "These candles, they are not for you." Liam lowered his head, staring at the glowing rune in his hands as if lost in the memories it brought. "I couldn't remember, until I saw the candle again. It's been years, Edrin. But the moment I saw the glow, the moment the rune started to shine, it brought everything back. I remember now." Edrin stood frozen in place. The soft glow of the candle lit Liam's face, casting shadows that flickered like ghosts of the past. He could see it, the old friend he had once known so well. The boy who had walked with him through winter storms, who had carved wood with him by the hearth. The one who had died that night, or so he had thought. But now, standing before him, was a living man, a man who had come back from the dead, or at least from the storm, with memories flooding back because of a candle. "What is this?" Edrin's voice broke the silence. "How can this be?" "I don't know," Liam replied, his voice quiet, almost regretful. "I don't understand it either. But when I took the candle, I remembered, the night we were lost. The night we carved our names into the wood. I can see it all now, Edrin. I can see the faces we had forgotten, the places we had forgotten." Edrin's hands clenched at his sides. His breath came in quick bursts, his heart racing as the pieces of his own memory began to click into place. This was no ordinary candle. There was something within it, something more than just wax and wick. "The candles are memories," Edrin said, almost to himself. "They carry the essence of those who have passed, the ones we've forgotten. That's why they glow, they remember." Liam looked at him, a faint smile touching his lips. "It's true. The runes, they're not just symbols. They are the markers of lives lost, of stories that need to be told again. The candles are a bridge. A bridge to the past." Edrin suddenly understood. The candles were not just for light. They were for remembrance. For those who had gone before, who had left a mark on the world, but whose memories had faded with time. "You can stay," Edrin said softly, his voice steady now. "If you wish. But know this, these candles are not for the living. They are for those who need to remember." Liam nodded slowly, as though understanding the weight of Edrin's words. "I don't think I can ever forget now," Liam said. "But I will leave when I must. I've seen enough." Edrin turned, his mind heavy with the secrets he had long kept. "Then let the flame guide you," he said. "Let the candles burn, for as long as they are needed." And as the candles' glow flickered in the night, they both turned to leave, the wind rustling in the trees, carrying with it the whispers of long-forgotten stories. As the sun vanished behind the snowy ridges once more, Tomas stood quietly outside his cottage door, a small iron key pressed between his fingers. He had finished delivering his usual batch of candles, each carefully boxed and tied with jute string, now resting in the chapel's sacristy and the mayor's storeroom. But one candle remained in his satchel, a slender stick of pale wax, unmarked by soot, and unlike any candle he sold. This was his midnight candle. He stepped inside and latched the wooden door. The hearth crackled lazily behind him. Outside, the village was silent save for the occasional bark of a distant dog or the rattle of frostbitten shutters. Tomas took a deep breath, then moved to the shelf above his workbench. A dusty volume, the Book of Forgotten Trades, lay there, bound in goat hide and faded threads. He had inherited it from his grandfather, who had whispered tales of secret craftsmanship, of trades long abandoned or hidden away. Tonight, Tomas intended to test what he had only read. He laid the book gently on the workbench, flipping through its fragile pages until he reached a chapter titled "Binding Fire and Rune, Candles That Speak."